In anime, we have some of the most incredible scenes in all of film, whether it's beautifully animated fight scenes, breathtaking landscapes, or beautifully animated moments that'll bring you to tears. It's safe to say that when enough time and effort is put in, anime can be considered some of the most moving pieces of filmography. And then we have this, and this, and this too. Don't forget about this, and this. Well, you get the point. All those scenes I just showed you had something off. Now when you're watching anime casually, you might not be able to tell at first glance what it is, but you know that there's definitely something off-putting about all those scenes. Well, that's the reason we're here today. If you know, you know, and if you don't, I'm here to tell you that in each of those scenes, there was a heavy reliance on 3D CGI. It's rough, looks like it doesn't belong in the scene at all, and just makes you feel thrown off by the juxtaposition of the 2D and 3D scenes. Now, whenever someone first realizes the bad usage of CGI, they have a few questions. This looks gross. Why would you do that? Do they not realize it looks terrible? And sometimes it may even cause a person to stop watching a series altogether. These are all the same questions that I had until recently, when I decided to do a deep dive and get to the bottom of why CGI is used, and oftenly used in an extremely unflattering way. Now I know that if I have these questions, a lot of you will too, so I'm going to break it down for everyone, so we can understand the reasons behind it. Now let's go ahead and give some background information that'll be crucial to understanding why CGI is used. First, I want to talk about the budget of some of the biggest box office anime of recent history. Jujutsu Kaisen, you would say great animation, $150K per episode. Attack on Titan, great animation again, $150K per episode. Dragon Ball Super, great animation, $160K per episode. My Hero, classic show, $110K per episode. Now if you're following my logic here, and you wanted to create a typical 12-episode season with the budget of these well-animated shows, it would cost you at the bare minimum $1.3 million, and that's just for animation. This doesn't include marketing, licensing, merchandising, and all the other things that go into a show. It's literally just the animation budget. That may not seem like a lot of money for anime that make crazy money and have insane followings like the ones I mentioned previously, but for the vast majority of anime with a smaller following, they can rarely afford the budget that these types of animation demand. And it really shows. You can certainly tell the difference between a low-budget anime and one with deep pockets. Okay, now that we got the budget segment out of the way, we can talk about the other main factor that goes unnoticed in anime production: time. Time, as we know, is a valuable thing, but in regards to anime production, it has multiple different facets. The first way time impacts anime is related to one word: hype. When a source material pops off, for example Tower of God, One Punch Man, Solo Leveling, you have a limited window to maximize the profits you can get from the hype. It's common knowledge that trends are born and die within what seems like a matter of weeks, so it's extremely important to make sure that an anime is released as soon as possible when you have the popularity. Just to emphasize, imagine you had an infinite animation budget. That still doesn't mean that you have infinite time to produce the anime. Eventually the hype will die down and less people will care about what you're selling. Also, inside of the time constraint window, we can further break down time to mean the amount of time in a day, and the amount of time a single person can work in a given day. Let's say you had 6 months to finish a project. Well, if you break it down to days, that's 180. But people still need to sleep, eat, take breaks, so you're really only getting at most 12 hours per day, which brings the total time down to 90 days. Now factor in weekends, days off, and you can see how 6 months can quickly turn into only a couple of months of actual work because of the actual physical time constraints that humans face. Okay, background info out of the way. Now let's get to why we're here. How does any of what I said relate to 3D CGI? Well, we're going to follow our previous topics of time and money, but this time analyze how CGI can help remedy issues in both of these areas. Unlike before, both time and money are undoubtedly intertwined when it comes to 3D CGI, so I'll be going over both of them at the same time. And let's start it off with the animators. Animators are the people who physically create the animation, drawing everything by hand. Now imagine we have an anime taking place in modern day Japan. In any given scene, there's going to be cars, buildings, people, and many other objects that give depth and fullness to a scene. Now imagine a person having to draw an entire still from that anime over and over and over again, every time from scratch. You can see how that would be a lot of work. Now imagine that instead of paying 100 animators to do it, we pay 50, and then pay some CGI experts to create models of the cars, buildings, people, and objects. That way, once the initial investment of creating the models is completed, we can essentially plop them into any scene and not have to worry about animating them. This lets the companies have less animators on the project and in turn saves them a lot of money, while also being able to produce content at a faster rate because the artist's workload is dropped. But most of the time, this also brings along with it a drastic reduction in the overall quality and cohesion of the animation. Look, I'm sure in a perfect world where we took 100 of the best animators, paid them handsomely, and took them into the time chamber from Dragon Ball to animate to their heart's content, we would have some of the most incredible pieces of media. But we can't do that. Studios don't have unlimited budgets, and we live in the real world, which means that when we're short on either time or money, in anime at least, the animation quality is usually what suffers the most. I do want to point out though that CGI isn't inherently bad. I know, after what I've said, it may seem like I just view CGI as a necessary evil to get what we want from the industry in a timely manner. But there's actually multiple different ways that CGI excels in anime and can even uplift specific scenes. There's a saying that goes around about CGI in anime, and it goes, good CGI is CGI you didn't notice. Translation, if you didn't notice jarring CGI, then it did its job. Now that may sound like a low standard for CGI, but you have to realize how it can be most effectively used and what it excels at, so let's get right into it. Number 1. Movement. A lot of the time, 3D CGI is used to create the in-between frames in animation. Instead of drawing 10 times the required amount of frames, the hardworking animators can hand create less scenes and use the CGI software to fill the gaps, essentially just creating fluid movement to scenes. It takes a lot less manpower and money to create a scene this way than to have human animators do every little detail. Also, it can make things possible that otherwise would not be done by human means. What I mean by that is that CGI is incredibly good at subtle details, such as someone shifting their weight or slight body movements, and incredibly more efficient when shifting camera angles. Think about recreating a scene from a different point of view. If you do it by hand, you're essentially creating an entirely new picture. While using CGI software, you can just move the point of view around the already created 3D models. These are some of the things that human animators just don't have the ability to do, given the time constraints and also needing breaks in sleep. So without CGI, we wouldn't be able to incorporate some of the subtleties that we've grown accustomed to in good anime. Number 2. Background. Another place that CGI excels in anime is background imaging. A big portion of the time, when you don't notice that CGI was used, it's because it was used on background images. Things that aren't crucial to the scene, but complete it nonetheless. This can be things like people moving in the background, to tables, chairs, vases, furniture, and even buildings. Using CGI in this way helps the manpower of the project be focused on the crucial characters and aspects of the scene that our attention is devoted to. When CGI is used to complement a scene, it can improve the quality of everything else by virtue of time spent. This makes some amazing scenes possible under constraints that they normally wouldn't be able to be completed under. And while these are some things that CGI does well, it's not even reaching its max potential. The greatest minds involved in CGI software are simply just not working in the anime industry. They're working for AAA gaming companies and in big Hollywood production sets. There just isn't enough money or importance placed on CGI developers in anime at the moment to get the absolute best out of it. And no doubt with time, these strengths will improve and weaknesses will inevitably disappear, but we're just not there yet. To sum it all up, the problem I find in the anime industry is that while CGI can be a tool used for good, a lot of the times it's used improperly to cut corners and cut budgets. I realize that the world we live in is about profit, and quality, for the most part, comes second. But realistically, CGI can be used in such a more impactful way instead of how it is currently. Use it for movement, use it for subtleties, background, and inanimate objects. Just because it can do something well doesn't mean that it can do everything well. And who knows, 5, 10 years down the line, my opinion might seem like a relic of the past. Like I mentioned earlier, the most intelligent CGI minds in the world are simply not working for anime production companies. And who's to say that 10 years down the line, entire episodes aren't completely CGI? I don't know, but I do know that for the time being, I would love to see studios take note and listen to what the fans are saying. Use CGI. Definitely use it, just in more subtle ways. Maximize the benefits while bringing the negatives down. Thanks guys, I had a lot of fun putting this together. If you guys liked it, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. Also go ahead and let me know what you thought in the comments below. This is my first time doing a video like this, so I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.